I agree with this family 110%.
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal.
What's up? Virginia Giuffre's family has spoken out, and they are saying something that I think we all, the general consensus, all agrees with. I just think it's really sad that they have to even speak out in this fashion and plead to the president, to the powers that be, to not give this woman any leniency. Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, if you don't know who Virginia Giuffre is, Virginia Giuffre is one of the victims, one of the survivors of this whole situation with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. She was a prominent whistleblower, one of the most vocal out of the group of women that said that they were put through a terrible, terrible experience, for lack of a better term, with the likes of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, she is no longer with us, okay? And obviously there's been conspiracy theory of her life was taken, or her, and what they say out here is that she took her own life. So that's what they say for right now. It is very sad how her life left, how she left this planet, how she had passed on. But it's pretty insane to me that everything that they're reacting to spawned from a video that everybody's losing their minds about. Trump was on his Air Force One, flying back from Scotland after putting his name on a new golf course out there in Scotland. He's on Air Force One, and he's talking about how Epstein stole underage girls from his Mar-a-Lago spa, and this is the reason why they stopped being friends, which is a new development and new information. But what's even more insane is that he says that Virginia Giuffre was indeed one of the girls that was stolen. He says stolen from him from that spa, which is absolutely crazy, which sparks a lot of different questions, which of course we've talked about in the last video. I'm going to sprinkle a few of them into this video as well. But let's take a trip down memory lane really quick. Let's take a listen to what they're saying in this video here. This is wild.
President Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. Just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them
young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young
Yeah.
women. What did they do?
In the spa.
Jobs in the spa?
Yeah, it's people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
What's interesting about this video is not only is it him acknowledging something that he never talked about until just now, it's also the fact that he's saying that he actually approached Jeffrey Epstein. He actually turned to him and said, hey, stop taking our girls, basically. But instead of him saying, stop taking our girls, why didn't he call law enforcement? Why didn't he do an extensive investigation into his spa to see what's going on and what's going on with these girls? Somebody came up to him to complain to him about how Jeffrey Epstein was taking these girls from the actual spa. Why wasn't, and these are all underage girls, by the way, why wasn't that sparking up or throwing up a red flag? Why wasn't there any concern about that? Then on top of that, he acknowledges that Virginia Giuffre was indeed an employee, an underage employee at Mar-a-Lago Spa. That is massive. And still nothing was done, even after the fact on that too. So again, the question is, why did that happen? Why wasn't anything done, right? And it seems very weird. The other piece that we have to remember too is that in the very beginning, when he said the fallout between him and Jeffrey Epstein, the origin story of why they fell out was because it was over property, like an actual building that they were both like going after. They both wanted their possession on this building and they butt heads, and therefore they weren't friends anymore. But now we're starting to understand that what he meant by property are these underage girls. Because again, he's saying they're stolen from him as if they are property, which is absolutely insane to me, guys. This is knuckin' futs, right? So again, after all of this just came out just a little bit ago. This is brand spanking new stuff. Of course, the world is reacting to this, and now the family is reacting to it as well. Virginia Giuffre's family is reacting to this. Of course, because why wouldn't they say anything? Why wouldn't they speak out about this? This is absolutely insane. The fact that he was stolen from her, she was stolen from him, I'm sorry, by Epstein as if she is a piece of property is absolutely insane. So now the family had to speak out and say what they needed to say, and I agree with them 110%. And what's even more sad about this is that the fact that they even have to say this out loud is absolutely insane. This woman should have had justice a long time ago, and now maybe she's going to get it. Finally, it's just unfortunate that she won't be here to actually see it, right? But maybe she's speaking through Trump by him slipping up like this from the grave, right? Maybe her spirit is making his mouth move and making him say certain things, dropping these revelations that should have been dropped years ago, by the way, years ago. Let's take a look at this statement from the family. Again, this is absolutely crazy, and it's crazy that they even have to say a portion of this, period, okay? But I agree with them 110%. It says, it was shocking to hear President Trump invoke our sister and say that he was aware that Virginia had been, quote unquote, stolen from Mar-a-Lago. It makes us ask if he was aware of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal actions, especially given his statement 2 years later that his good friend, Jeffrey, quote unquote, likes women on the younger side, no doubt about it. Now, one thing is very sure. Let me just break this down really quick, okay? What's crazy is that after she was, quote unquote, taken from Mar-a-Lago, that was 2 years. That was 2 years before he said anything about Jeffrey liking younger women on the younger side, no doubt about it. So 2 years after she was taken and she was groomed and essayed and all this crazy stuff happened to her, Trump puts out a statement about Jeffrey Epstein saying that he likes younger women. He likes women on the younger side, no doubt about it. That was 2 years after. So this is a very, very bad look. And of course, I can see why a lot of people are looking at Trump in a very, very interesting way. I think that everybody's giving him the hard side eye right now, okay? Because of what he is saying. And the timeline speaks for itself, right? But continuing on, they said, we in the public are asking for answers. Survivors deserve this. The government and the president should never consider giving Ghislaine Maxwell any leniency. Ghislaine Maxwell is a monster who deserves to rot in prison for the rest of her life for the extraordinary violence and abuse she had put not just our sister Virginia through, but many other survivors who may number in the thousands. Let me just say this really quick. I could not agree more. You have, and it's what's so wild about this is that the possibility of Ghislaine Maxwell getting pardoned is still on the table. We've heard Trump himself say, I have the ability to pardon her, when what he should be fixing his mouth to say is, hell no, I ain't going to pardon her. That is never going to be on the table. You see, It's how things are operated out here that give a lot of people great pause and give people make people have a very visceral reaction, an intense visceral reaction to this situation, because the way that things are kind of being laid out just doesn't make any sense. It seems a bit odd and sus as hell, in my personal opinion. And the fact that you have to have the Giuffre family come out and speak at all, okay, period, even to bring in common sense about this Ghislaine Maxwell situation, is just appalling to me. And it shows that there is still no respect or love for those survivors, those victims, the people who are surviving right now at the hands of these possible decrepit individuals that are on this list. You realize that as we speak right now, there may be those people, some of those people that are on the list that are still doing acts of depravity to people, to other victims right now as we speak. And they're still doing it right now because they have not drained that doggone swamp yet, which is absolutely just think about that. Put that bee in your bonnet for a second. It's irritating. It's frustrating. But that could also be the truth. And the fact that they keep dragging their feet, keep dragging everything, for what reason we do not know. Well, I mean, I think we do know. It's just absolutely appalling to me. Sad that we have to hear from the Virginia Giuffre family in this fashion, if at all, just to bring in some common sense to a situation that is absolutely gone bonkers. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button down below. Crush that subscribe button. At some point, the truth has to come out. At some point, the truth has to come out. But the question is, are we really going to get all of it? That's a question I have that's still burning in my brain as we speak. We'll see what happens, though. Let's get justice. That's all we need. Justice immediately. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. We'll talk soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.
Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.